light, just like the sun and moon are constantly going back and forth from darkness to light. That's what happens to us. We are the stars, so we go back to that darkness and come back again, just like Genesis show, just like I've been teaching, and it's all through the womb or the universe, the yoniverse. So like I was saying earlier, you don't go to the firmament physically, only through by recreating your whole body physically in the firmament of your next mother. When you're in the womb of your mother's belly, you are in the heavens above. The subconscious part of you that are waiting to, because when the baby is being formed, there's a lot going on in those 9 months. So a part of you are in the heavenly realms beyond the stars. That's why when you're in the womb of your mother, you are in darkness. You are in 2 different states. You're in that dream state above the stars, but physically you're in the womb of your mother. So when we die, we actually split. The body is a bond that houses mind, body, spirit, and also is a crossroads for all of the elements. That's why the human body is made of everything on earth. But at the North Pole, all of the elements meet each other and create the single source that created everything we see. That's darkness. That's the canvas that allow you to think of things. So the first thought was water. The first thought was light, sun, wind. And from those first thoughts, we can use those thoughts to make new things, but we can't create them out of nothingness. We have to create them with wind, with light, with dirt, with water, because these are the first thoughts of the Most High. The Most High thought about water. The Most High created wind and thunder. And in order for you to create something, you got to use the thoughts of the Most High, because you can't create original. The thoughts that the Most High had are the building blocks for all other thoughts. So everything we create is made out of the original elements that the Most High thought into existence. And everything you think about can only be based upon original thoughts. Even when you think of a new earth or a new realm in a dream, it still have the sun, moon, and the clouds, because that's the template. That's the original backdrop or the software, the original thought. So we're in a universe or a universe, and you got to realize that the womb worship is the oldest on earth, and that us coming in and out of existence through the womb is the same thing of the sun and moon coming in and out of existence during the eclipse, because that darkness exists at the North Pole. They got a movie called Dark Tower, and they got a movie called Skyfall, because at the North Pole, the skyfall, the darkness behind the stars marries all of the earth elements and splits this cosmos in a direct center and makes a figure 8 feeding itself with the primordial sea, which isn't liquid water, but darkness. Darkness is when Bruce Lee said, be like water, the only thing that can be better than water and more fluid than water is darkness. That's the primordial water. Now, water moves and waves, so do the darkness. The darkness is nothing but an endless neutral wave. It's not vibrating high, it's not vibrating low, it's simply vibrating. And because it is, you can be. So because you have centering, you can now have left and right based on perception. Infinity can be found within the number 0. So what I'm saying is, all that exists is darkness, and everything we perceive in this reality is physical and colorful. It's just a thought within the darkness. So that's why everything come from the darkness and go back to that primordial source, because we borrow in our foundation. The darkness is the canvas that allow us to paint creation upon it. So in other words, when we talk about the 4 foundations, we ain't talking about 4 concrete stones that's holding up the earth. We ain't talking about 4 diamond buildings that the earth sitting on top of. This foundation is simply darkness, and it can't be penetrated. Everything sits upon darkness. If you keep digging into the ground, you will just reach dirt, 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 dirt. You will never run out of dirt. And you will keep looking at dirt because the earth is generating this reality for you as you go. That's why there's no end to it. Think of a video game. You only see the next portion of it when you travel to it. It's generating the reality as we journey. That's why they said nothing don't exist if you don't see it, because the earth, you're creating it from the inside out. So if we journey beyond the ice rings, right now we surrounded by darkness. But the moment you start going out there, it ain't going to be darkness. It's going to be a horizon with land, and the intelligence behind this place is generating the reality as you go. If you think of a video game, for example, Grand Theft Auto, when you reach the end of the map, it's an invisible barrier there. You can't penetrate the barrier until you unlock that part of the map. So it goes back to what I said. You can penetrate the barrier, neutral energy. Then you can pass right through the firmament. It's not a barrier to you if you vibrate on the same level of it. But if you playing a video game, when you reach the edge of the map, you can look out and see different worlds. You just can't access them. It's an invisible barrier there. And I don't know how many of y'all play video games, but I used to love Grand Theft Auto. And one thing that I tried to do, and I'm pretty sure many of you tried to do it, if you ever reach the barrier of the Grand Theft Auto map, you looking at an invisible force field. You can look through it and see different other worlds out there, but you can't get to them. So what do? We get rocket launchers and we start shooting them at the edge of the map. I know everybody did it besides me. Don't leave me alone now. If you played Grand Theft Auto, when you went to the edge of the map, you tried to blow up that invisible barrier to access those other areas on the map. But guess what? You find out you can't unlock those other areas of the map until you beat the game. When you beat the game, they allow you access. So when I talk about the firmament being an invisible barrier, you can't access entry to the firmament until you beat the game, till you master the game and become a Buddha or one that's self-aware, and you raise your energy or lower your energy to neutral energy, which is not high or low. It's just neutral energy, non-biased, and you can penetrate the firmament. Go ahead. I'm sorry for being long-winded, guys.
So, right, bro Sanchez, we were listening. You were really going for it, so we were listening to you.
Yeah, I'm still building on this. I forgot what someone had asked me, but I ended up going into all of that. This is a classic. This is a classic. Not because I'm on it, but because y'all making me get that energy to want to stop. That's how I know it's a good one. But if you look at this ripple effect, take a good look at it. It's an implosion and an explosion. It's very magical. If you just sit here and stare at that, a lot of revelations will come to you. Now, they did a movie called Dark Tower, where they telling us about the North Pole in a subliminal way. Now, if you look at the artwork, they're telling you what I'm teaching, that the world on the inside is also the world on the outside. So if you look at this covering, which is beautiful artwork, it shows you the nature of our reality. There's an inverted world on the inside. So if you look at the top of this artwork, these people are walking on the sky. What does that mean? The darkness behind the stars is the shadow of the earth, casted, and vice versa. We're sandwiched in between shadows, and they call these the shadow realms or the night realms. Shades became Hades. The word shades, S-H-A-D-E-S, if you take the S off, it's Hades. These are transitioning dark realms where we transition from to cut the light back on again. So when you look at Dark Tower, what they're telling you is there's a world we live in below, but when we travel inward, we're actually traveling upward and flipping ourselves around to a world within us, which is also the world outside of us. So right now you can go to the North Pole by not even get on a boat. You can lay down in your bed and go to Mount Meru right now, because it's all a portal that we can access through the darkness. If the darkness behind your eyelids is the same darkness that's at the North Pole and the same darkness at the night sky, that's make the night sky, and the same darkness that you create your dreams in, and the same darkness that you go back to when you die, and the same darkness that you came from, it's your darkness. But when you say your darkness, take the Y off. It's our darkness. So your is our. When you say your, it's really our. So your darkness is your darkness based upon you can go where you want to be. But wherever you are, there we are. You're never going to go nowhere that's void of people. Even in your dreams, you create all of these people to interact with. You can't escape us. And we are you. We are the board. We are constantly recreating each other in these lifetimes. So if I go to sleep, I can dream about everybody on this panel. That don't mean they were there. Yes, it does. It means they were there. So even though the people on this panel live in their own house, in their own beds, when I go to sleep in my bed, I can create them in my world. But my world is your world. Otherwise, how did you get there? You see, we creating this whole experience. It's hard to explain. So if you think of this Dark Tower, you know, it's very interesting because what is darkness?
Well,
Darkness.
I see the picture of the movie, The Book of Eli. Up, The Book of Eli. Yeah.
Yeah, the Book of Eli.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
The Book of Eli is simply the Book of El, the Book of Saturn. Eli is El, I, or I am that I am. El is the. The word El means the, and I is the individual. So Eli translates to the I. The I is what I've been telling y'all about. The I is right here, Mount Meru. It's in the center. You see?
Yeah.
And so the Dark Tower is the I. And like when you compare it to the Book of Eli, that's awesome, because the Dark Tower simply is the I, or the one. And if you notice, this tower is just shaped like an obelisk, or the one. This is the Washington Monument. But see, they hiding all of this. They want you to think that that monument is got something to do with phallus and male penis worship. But this obelisk is not a solid object. It's a womb that shapes like a tower. So when you talk about androgyny, if you combine male with female, what do you get? You get a pole hole. So you get a mountain that's made out of a hole, and that's called the all, the source, the I. So a lot of people say that the North Pole is a mountain, but they also say it's a hole, and they argue of whether or not it's a pole or a hole. I'm telling you that it's both. It's a pole or a mountain that's made out of darkness. So it's a tower that's made out of a hole. It's hard to explain. The darkness is a hole, but it forms a tower, which is a pole.
It's like a body. Same.
Yeah, this is the edge of the earth. So when you travel outward, you don't reach the edge. They got us backwards. When you go to the ice ring, that ripple effect can go on and on and on for eternity, but the ripple get weaker and weaker the further you go out. You see how the ripples get more and more weaker the further you go out. So the further you journey out from the center, you start to enter less dense realms that's less physical, as we know physicality. These realms we talk about being spiritual realms, that's kind of like things going through the wall and shit like that. That exists the further we go out, because you can see how the ripples kind of get weaker at that level. But what am I saying with all of that? All of this is attached to our realm. The earth is one thing that encompasses all things. So there are less dense realms and there are dense realms. And as you journey from the center outwards, you get a taste of all of them. Just like you going from hot to cold, you're going to pass medium. So if you want to look at hot as being all the way outward, these are the realms that's so far from the source that they seem dream-like. But the closer we go to the source, it seems dream-like. And it goes back to what I said. The same place you trying to go when you venture outward, you just going back inward. That's what makes this place infinity. Not that it's an infinite plane, but the more you journey outward, you can't escape it because you just walking inward. It's a mirror reality. So when you travel outward from the center, the ripples get less and less. They get more weaker. But I shouldn't say weaker. They get less dense. And if we travel inward, things get less dense. Just think about it this way. I can burn you with ice and fire. And I can freeze you with ice and fire. So if you get too cold, you'll get frostburn. And if you get too hot, you can get burned. So you can get to the same place no matter if you go inward or outward, if y'all get what I'm saying. Y'all see what I'm saying here?
We do. It's all deep. I'm listening to you, bro.
Yeah, you can get to the same place by traveling inward or outward. Meaning if you study the human heart, you can find revelations that'll lead you back to the centering of yourself, which is the center of the earth. But if you study a flower, you can get to the same place. So you can look inside of yourself to find these revelations as well as outside of yourself, but they'll all lead you back to the center. And that happens on a physical level, a spiritual level, and mental level when you understand the nature of our reality. So this dark tower, she said earlier, the book of Eli. Well, El is the god Saturn. Let me show you. He represents the North Pole. They turned him into the pharaoh, of course.
Yeah, he going north. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna end on this one. Here's the god El, and this is what Bonacci was talking about with Saturn. It's Saturn because this is the one turning the atmosphere, creating a circuit of the sun and moon. You can see the zodiac in his wheel. This the night sky. He represents Nut. But this come after Nut. This was to hide the sky goddess because this guy rules you with fear. He rules you with mysticism and occultism. And that's what we got to get out of. So when you look at, let me just tie this in to the ripple effect. If you look at El, you can think of all of these circles around him as the ripples around the water driplet. The tower in the middle is El. That's him. That's the God. The ripples around him is the earth he created. So this is El surrounded by the halo. The same thing they giving you here with this God El, the ancestors gave us with the ripple effect. That's all I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
Go on, you did. Go on, you did.
I was thinking that nothing upstairs has got two sides. I was thinking the moon's got only one side, sun, stars. So what's happened with this star? How come he's got all the circle? See what I mean? How come
I can't really make it out.
What she's saying is the sun and the moon have only got one side.
the star only got one side? How come
they've only got one side?
we actually see only one side, the reflection. There is no other side of.
I don't get what she's saying about we only see one side. Can you go a little deeper?
It's like if you go up, you are not going to see anything, only black, because there is no other side of the sun, of the moon, or the stars. If you go up, outside of them, there is no other side. Okay, I have to think about this. Yes,
She's just putting a comment out, but she says she's going to think about it a bit more. This is just incredible that they knew everything, and if we believe this way, we know nothing. You've got to go back and go through all this history and hours and hours and hours of research to realise that how far back it all is and where it comes from. But they knew everything.
You know, think about it. A person can say this video is long. Let's say this video is 8 hours. A person can watch this video and never know anything else about flat earth, the Christian deception. This video will resonate so much with them that it'll unlock their minds. And what it is a mixture of flat earth, history, and sacred geometry, syncretism, and etymology. We didn't leave no stone unturned. The problem I see a lot of flat earthers making, they only talk about syncretism and etymology. They don't talk about sacred geometry. You can't have syncretism and etymology and exclude sacred geometry, because sacred geometry is sacred earth. Geometry, the measure of the earth. Now the earth is infinite. So in order for you to measure infinity, you have to become the ruler. You have to come to Christ, become the Christ, become the ruler. And then you can measure the earth and see its infinity. But until then, you won't, because sacred geometry is the language of the Most High. It syncs together your syncretism and etymology, because the picture is worth 1,000 words, but the symbol is worth 1,000,000 pictures. And I deal with symbolism, sacred geometry. This is why the things that I say, no one can come behind me and have a debate or refute it, because I go back to the darkness. Who can argue with the darkness? No one can tell me, Brother Sanchez, you wrong, because I tell them, if you think I'm wrong, give me a couple of hours, I bet you your ass gonna go to sleep. You can't escape my Most High. Everybody got to serve my Most High. Every night you got to go to my Most High to reset yourself, and that's darkness. Nothing is higher than my Most High. Not even the stars in the sky is higher than that darkness, which is the background. All things come from my Most High, because all inventions that you look at come from darkness, come from the mind, come from the womb, the darkness. I serve the true Most High, and I'm trying to get people back to that, back to their inner darkness, their creative energy, so that we can change this place. And the Bibles and the religions prevent us from doing that. So just another thing I want to point out before I stop, because I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave. I really got to go. This ripple effect that we're talking about, when you talk about the ripple effect The word ripple translates to repel. The ripple effect is the repelling effect or the repel effect. Now, the word repel translates to rebel or rebel. Let me say this and then I'm going to stop talking. So the ripple effect is the repel effect or the rebel effect. All of us are fallen angels. We're ripples or rebels. When you say rebel, you're saying rebel. Baal is the name of the ancient mother goddess. Baal is Baal. It's the deity associated with creating new time or creating the new world order. So the first deity of the Baal was Narmer. But prior to that, Baal was represented by the mother goddess, because she's the one at the center of the earth. And we know that the church Baal is on the steeple, which is at the center of the ceiling of the church. The center of the dome is where the Baal is. When you rebel, you take the knowledge of nature and add to it and create your own belief systems so that people are centered around you and not nature. That's called rebelling. When you stop teaching people about the truth about nature and you use nature to make you into a god, that's called rebelling. So all of us are rebels because we've been indoctrinated, and we are all ripples, meaning we left Eden. We left that point of singularity and we ventured outward. And when we did so, we became weaker and weaker in our rebellion. We rippled, we repelled, we rebelled from the center, and that's the ripple effect. So don't think about Pangea when you think about human origins. Don't think about the Big Bang. Think about the ripple effect. Think about how humans migrated from Eden, and the more we ventured outward, the less we knew of ourselves. In Eden, we knew what we were, because in Eden, we were constantly looking at this dark tower, reminding us that where we come from. When we left Eden, the future generations haven't seen this thing in thousands of years, to the point we're even debating whether or not it exists, even though all compasses are pointing us there. So they've been hiding this magical place for a long time, and the end of world religions will begin the quest back to the center. And I want to leave y'all with that beautiful ending. Just remember that we have rippled or repelled or rebelled from the center, and that what flat earth represent is a journey back to our homeland. And that's a spiritual journey as well as a physical one. You don't make the physical journey until you first make the spiritual one. People who are interested in getting on a boat going to the North Pole, they've already made a spiritual journey within to the center of themselves, which led them to want to make a physical journey. So this is a multi level of initiation, and your final phases of initiation into this knowledge won't even take place on this plane. It'll take place in the subtle planes that exist within this one. You see, so what I mean is a lot of occult members meet up in secrecy and they meditate, and what happens in a lot of these big time lodges, a lot of these Masons meet up and they go in a room and they lay their bodies down and they all go to sleep for hours, and they meet up in dream places. Some of these places on the earth, like I said, this is an endless plane. So you don't have enough fuel to reach all of the areas on this earth. The best way to travel on this earth is through the portal, which is inside of you, in your mind. And that's what the elite have been doing. They control space physically, mentally, and spiritually. So what they do in secrecy is they lay down and lay their bodies down, and they all meet up on different continents or different worlds that maybe one of the elite members created. Because when you get real skill with this mastering the darkness, you can actually create your own paradises and then allow your initiates to join you there. So when Jesus say that I prepared a place for you in heaven, that means that the earth we live in now is a place that was prepared for us by a higher Buddha. We're inside of another God's world right now, but we have the opportunity to create our own because there are neutral gods. Now, this is another belief. I believe that every ripple is a different deity with its own creation, but this can go deep and deep. And I think all of us can become a source ripple as opposed to just a rain. And I think that it's phases of initiation, and that all of us flat earthers are at our final stage where now after this life, we're going to go and become the ripple or the source that creates new worlds. That's what I think we are. So we've made our journey from the outside in, and in our next life, we'll actually explode from the inside out and become the ripple or the point of singularity.